Welcome on into the Wise Guys podcast. This is episode 104. I am John Tortorelli with Brand Capozziello, and today we will be talking about two of the most disrespected teams in the NBA that now find themselves on a direct collision course to the NBA Finals. The Denver Nuggets win Game 3, 119-108, an emphatic statement as they have gone the furthest in their franchise history. I'm joined by BC today to talk about the playoffs and much more. You know what? I've never felt as good, because I haven't had one of my teams make it to the finals or the NBA champ or the Super Bowl or any championship, Brennan, since I was 7 years old. It's been a while for me, but for the Nuggets, they seem directly in line to make it the first time in a long time I get to celebrate a little championship, potentially at least. Give myself a chance in the big stage.
Yeah. Got a bone to pick with you about that, to be honest with you. The whole we Denver Nuggets thing, when you got about like four teams as an NBA fan. So I'm bullish on that. I'm bullish on that with you. I'm going to be honest with you. As a person who has been a fan of a team for life, all right? No matter what, doesn't matter the player, doesn't matter whatever. I take a little bit of offense. I think all true fans like myself and people watching can agree with me on that. We take a little offense to people who have multiple teams, or they don't have a favorite team, they have favorite players, which is fine. That's fine. But when that player starts doing good and then you start saying we and us, I'm like,
Brandon,
you to the hard times. You weren't there to the hard times.
As a native of Connecticut, your home state had an NBA team. They go all in to build a super team, and then they move out your home state.
Did they?
You would feel betrayed by them. And the same way the Brooklyn Nets betrayed me, well, actually the New Jersey Nets at the age of 9.
That's true.
I decided I was going to betray them. Okay. And that made me a free agent at 10 years old. You want to know what I said? I have my favorite players, but I'm not going to have a favorite NBA team for quite some time. But you want to know something? With how much disrespect and disdain that's been put on Nikola Jokic's name the last couple of years, for an all-time playoff and regular season performer, I've bought so much stock on him, I'm going to the moon. It's like crypto in 2021. We're riding this train, but it's going to be sustainable long-term. This ain't hitting the fan. This is just the beginning. So when people say that to me, I'm like, look, man, I was not going to become a Knicks fan. No way, no how.
All right. I'm just letting you know my feelings on it and everybody else. Like, I just, you had hard times, baby. Hard times. All right.
So let's jump on in and talk about last night's Lakers versus Nuggets game.
Good times.
One of the matchups coming into this I was very intrigued by was Aaron Gordon being guarded by Anthony Davis, where Davis can roam in the paint. But what we saw more of in Game 3 was Michael Malone going to Jeff Green, who's a more capable spot-up shooter and a guy that can connect the ball and make some pretty good extra passes as well. Now, for the Lakers, they had an issue. It was, the Nuggets just packed the paint in the first quarter, double teaming and even tripling every pick and roll while forcing LeBron James to beat them from the outside. LeBron was 0 of 10 from three-point range, and in Game 3, he had a couple of pretty big-time shots at the end of the second half, but by and large, he wasn't making the defense pay for giving up wide-open looks to him. You then look at the other initiator, and D'Angelo Russell has been exactly what I expected. I'm not really surprised. 1 of 8 from the field, missed a handful of wide-open corner threes. This is Shanghai stuff. I don't know how you can defend him when defensively he kills them from a matchup perspective. He's guarding Michael Porter Jr. on some possessions. But what the Nuggets have really done well against the Lakers in the series is gotten better shots. And when they're taking tougher shots, they've got much better shot makers. The Lakers' best shot maker and playmaker at times is D'Lo. And so far through 3 games, as Michael Malone said, D'Lo was not on the field on the floor the second half of Game 1. Let's see how that trend continues moving forward. That'll be an interesting storyline to follow. And since Michael Malone gave a little tidbit in his Game 1 post reactions, it's come to life. D'Angelo he can't play in the series at all. And the Nuggets have gotten into his head. There was one play in the third quarter where inexplicably Darvin Ham still goes to him when he's been a total non-factor offensively. And it's a pick and roll. Aaron Gordon defends it perfectly between Anthony Davis and D'Lo with, I think it was 7 minutes left. No, excuse me, it was 4 minutes and 20 seconds left in the third quarter. No Jokic on the floor. And D'Lo, opposed to just controlling himself, gathering, and making a bounce pass to a wide open Rui Hachimura at the top of the key, instead decides, I want to make a zip pass to the corner shooter, which off the top of my head I'm forgetting, and KCP picks it off. He then dumps it off to Jamal Murray. And the Lakers, off that turnover, don't get back in transition. So Bruce Brown streaks down the lane, and Jamal Murray throws him a pretty big time lob pass to extend the Nuggets' lead from 3 to 5 points while Jokic is on the bench. And when I look at this series, this is coming from a Nugget fan. The Lakers should be up 2-1 right now. That is the ridiculous thing. But they find themselves down 0-3 because in the third quarter, with LeBron James and Anthony Davis on the floor, they've been outplayed in the non-Nikola Jokic minutes. When you talk about this Denver team, that is where you have to beat them. When their superstar, their offensive floor raiser, the initiator of everything, it feels like, is not on the floor. Keep in mind, Jamal Murray missed 10 straight shots in this game after having 30 points in the first half. The Lakers have had many opportunities, but it's been the Nuggets role players that have outperformed them and been a lot more consistent on both ends of the floor. A great example of this is Michael Porter Jr. Even when he's not making shots, he's diving on loose balls, he's getting on the glass, he's pushing in transition. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is making shots like he's played in the Oracle. What's the Lakers arena again, Brent? Crypto Arena? Staples Center. KCP's making shots like he's playing in the Staples Center before. But then you look at a Bruce Brown in transition. Even when the Lakers duo is outplaying the Nuggets duo, it's been the possession game. Transition, offensive rebounds in games 1 and 2, and then last but surely not least, the shot making that's come back to bite them. You cannot lose the non-Nikola Jokic minutes when both of your stars are out there and they can't score in game 2. They got scored 7-0 by Jamal Murray. And then in game 3, it's the matter of all these different role players doing a good job on Anthony Davis and making LeBron beat them from the outside. To me, it feels like at this point, LeBron has become invincible. And that's something we should expect in his age 20 season. But somehow people are like, well, it's LeBron. You can't count him out in game 7. And he's not going to be going to a game 7 this series, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's not. He is not going to be headed to a game 7. Nuggets take a 3-0 lead. Listen, I thought going into the series that the home teams would win out and this was going to go 7, with Denver taking it in 7. I didn't count the Lakers out. I just thought Denver would be better at home. So when Denver went up 2-0 to start the series, I was not surprised. I was not shocked. I actually kind of expected it. I said, there's no worries. There's, don't, it's not Houston. We have a problem type situation. It's okay. They defended home court. Now Lakers, you're going to LA for 2 games. Now it's your time to defend home court. And they were undefeated at home during the playoffs before last night's game. I mean, the Nuggets are clearly the better team, right? We can pretty much say that now. Looking at the first 3 games of the series, they are. The Lakers put up pretty good fights. In game 1, they were able to make a almost insane comeback. You can't call it a comeback if you don't finish the job, but they basically came back as much as you possibly could. The Nuggets, just at every turn, they were able to make the key plays in the most key moments. Saying that the series is over, right? It's done. No team has ever come back from a 3-0 deficit. Not Michael, not LeBron, not Kareem, not Kobe, not anybody. Nobody's done it before. Maybe Lakers win game 4. They could. I won't count them out, but it's really just delaying the inevitable. The series is over.
This is really a defeated outlook, BC. What's going on?
Well, because it's defeated because it's a 3-0 deficit and you're done. You can't compete. The others haven't shown up as much as you needed. Hachi kind of came back to earth a little bit last night. D'Lo, you spoke on. He played like absolute crap. He's played like trash this whole conference finals, the last 3 games. It's been bad. And I got to be honest, I don't think he's going to be back in LA next year. I think he's most likely done.
But he had a great regular season, though, Brandon. He was on fire for the
Well,
Lakers in the regular season.
oh, for the Lakers, yeah. Yeah, but again, it count the playoffs count, and I think that Darvin Ham, LeBron, AD, Pelinka, whoever the hell, all of them looked at it and said, D'Lo's a good player. He's probably a good guy, but in the most key moments, which are the playoffs, he's a liability when he's not making his shots. And that has become too often now. So you have to look at it and say, yeah, can he perform in the regular season for us? Sure. But when it comes playoffs, we shouldn't be thinking about benching a guy who's making $30+ million a year. That should not cross anybody's mind. And it's crossed a lot of people's mind for the first 3 games. I was the one saying, I said, I think after game 1, I said, I think you probably have to bench D'Lo, have him come off the bench as the 6th man. Because Schroeder can at least, he's not a great defender or anything, but he's a fighter and he's a scrapper. He'll fight with Jamal Murray, right? And he's a vet. You got Austin Reeves, who is a scrappy fighter on defense as well, and he's making his big shots. You bring in Hachimura off the bench and you start him. You got LeBron and AD. That's what I thought the winning lineup would have looked like. Vanderbilt, to me, he's just too much of an offensive liability. And if he's not slowing Jamal Murray down, as we saw last night, then why the fuck are you on the court? If your sole purpose is to be a defensive guy and at least slow the guy down, and you're giving us what, 1 for 4 on offense? You're taking a wide open 3-point shot that you take 5 seconds to take, and you completely, I don't even think he barely even got it to the rim. There's a reason you're that wide open. You don't take the shot. But yeah, let's because I want to come back to the Lakers a little bit later, the D'Lo point. So let's focus on the Nuggets first, because we want to give them their praise, right? You said they haven't been talked about, and as a Miami Heat fan, I can fully respect and understand that. Jamal Murray. We had a conversation, John, about a month ago at this time, where you walked out of the room when I said, Jamal Murray, I would take Jamal over Tyrese Halliburton. I still stand pat on that, and I think Jamal Murray is just slowly raising his stock right now. He's built for these moments. He's a mother-loving problem. All right, he is a problem, and you don't want to let that man get going. I know he had a slow second half, and Michael Wilbon talked about it in the halftime show, and I agreed with him at this point, where he was like, Jamal Murray might have shot himself out in the first half, because he had a freaking hell of you couldn't have a better first half, right? That's sometimes people's games. He had that in one half. So Wilbon was like, he probably shot himself out. Like, there's probably, maybe he goes for 15 in the second half. He went for 7, and you said he missed a bunch of his shots in the second half. So, and it was kind of a standstill. It was 58-55. So I was like, the Lakers are in a good spot right now. But where Murray didn't come up small, just took a step back in the second half, that's where Nikola Jokic came in and said, okay, I'll come up big in this time. I think he had 14 in the fourth quarter, if I'm not mistaken.
15 points on 5-7 shooting, and he also gave up 3 points at the charity stripe too.
Yep. So it was Murray carried the first half, then Jokic came clutch in the second half, and especially the fourth quarter. Now, a thing that has been crossing my mind, John, the last couple of weeks about these Denver Nuggets is a young star guard and a superstar center. Now, where have we seen that story before?
The 2014 San Antonio Spurs.
Really? Oh, okay. I was thinking a different one.
Well, that team was different because Tony Parker was 34. And
yeah, I was thinking back in the early 2000s.
Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal.
Kobe Bryant, a young star guard. Not saying these guys are them. I'm saying young star guard coming up, right? Nikola Jokic, the superstar. Shaq had already reached his peak, right? While Kobe was coming up. Jokic has already kind of reached his peak. He has reached his superstar status. Murray is coming up right now, and that has nothing to do with his game. That was because he got injured, and it delayed his progression. But now you're seeing the fruits of the labor are coming now. So that's where the comparison for me of Kobe and Shaq, Murray and Jokic. Obviously, defensively, those guys are not Kobe and Shaq. Kobe and Shaq were all NBA defenders. But that's where I get that comparison of a young star guard coming up and a superstar established center. So I just had to make that comparison because it's
And
just been. Go
it's a
ahead.
great one because in 2001 and 2000, we saw the moments of Kobe. Shaq gets injured. He steps up and wins them a game against Indiana in the finals. And on that stage, Kobe Bryant was extremely hyped up to be this great player, but it took him in the playoffs arriving at that moment. At 18 years old, he has a 16-point fourth quarter versus the Utah Jazz as an 18-year-old, right? So when we talk about Jamal Murray, a guy that's third at 26 years old in the Nuggets franchise for playoff points, that's remarkable. He hasn't played in 3 years in the playoffs. But when Jamal Murray has been on the floor in 2019, they were one game away from the conference finals. You talk about that Portland Denver series, it was one of the best round two matchups we've had in years. The next year, they come back from a 3-1 deficit versus the Utah Jazz, behind the back of Jamal Murray outscoring Donovan Mitchell at 22 years old. They then go on to face the Los Angeles Clippers with Kawhi Leonard, a year off winning a championship with the Raptors, and Paul George a year after being a top 4 candidate for MVP. The Nuggets go down 3-1, and with everybody counting them out, win games 4, win games 5, win game 6, and win game 7, becoming the first team in NBA history to win in any season 2 series while being down 3-1. They then go up against the Lakers in the conference finals, who have Contavious Caldwell Pope, not Austin Reeves, the other undrafted guy, Alex
Austin Rivers.
Caruso, one of the
Oh,
best
Alex Russo.
defenses in recent years. And that Lakers defense still had a tough time against them, narrowly winning in 5 games, and a series that was close enough to go to 6 or 7. This year, Jamal Murray, coming off a torn ACL, shaking off rust, finishes shooting 40% from downtown. So close, 39.8%. An elite shot maker that goes into the playoffs and raises his points per game from 21 to 27 for the second postseason run, shooting 40% from downtown on 7 attempts per game, all the while being one of the most unpredictable and dynamic shot creators in the league. Brandon, what players heat up quicker than Jamal Murray?
I saw you tweet that. It's a short list. I mean, Steph, Clay, Dame.
Book?
Yeah, Booker. Yeah, it's a very short list. That might be the list. It's not a big list. I mean, you see the numbers. I think he's got how many first half 30-point games? I think it's 3.
Mm-hmm.
In this playoffs alone, I think it is, if I'm not mistaken. I could be completely wrong on that, but I think the only person higher than him is Donovan Mitchell with 4. So I mean, you see it. The it's unbelievable. When that shot starts falling for him, the confidence that he breeds is almost unmatched in the NBA. So, and like I said, I've been singing this guy's praises for a very long time, ever since the bubble when I saw that, and I was like, this guy is different. And I'm loving that he's finally getting this main stage to showcase his skill set, so people can actually see where, people want to say this is Jokic's team, right? He's the best player on the court. Nobody's going to argue that, but he does have a Robin, and his Robin is no slouch. His Robin is coming up. I mean, I'm Jamal Murray is a bona fide star in this league as well. He has surpassed all-star for me. He is a bona fide star. I don't think he's not superstar. Maybe not yet. Maybe he gets there, but he's not there. He is a bona fide star to Jokic's superstar. And I just think I'm so happy that he's getting the stage to showcase it. So I can't say enough about Jamal Murray. His skill set from all 3 levels of the court, in at the rim, mid-range, 3-point shot. He can do it all at a very high level. Defensively, he's undersized, but he will fight you. He's not going to back down from a matchup. His passing ability is hella underrated as a playmaker. He can make great passes. I think he averaged almost 7 assists this season, if not 7 assists. And I just his field goal percent, his shooting percentages all are impressively good. I think he's like 45, 47%, 38, 39% from 3, 80 plus on free throw line.
In the postseason, he's nearly a 50-40-90 guy.
It's ridiculous.
47% from the field, 41 from downtown, and at the free throw line, he had the one big miss in game 2, but he's a 91% shooter.
Mm-hmm. I can't say enough about him. So, hats off to the Denver Nuggets. They are NBA Finals bound. Obviously, game 4, I don't really honestly care what happens. Like I said, I think the Lakers can win it, just from like a pride standpoint, where they're going to be like, let's just go balls to the wall and get it. But they can easily lose the game too, because they've lost 3 straight already. So this either ends in 4 or they go back to Denver and it ends in 5. So hats off to the Denver Nuggets to making the NBA Finals for the first time, right?
For the first time.
For the first time making it. Yep. So hats off.
But what percentage chance to get the Lakers to come back down?
No, 0%.
I saw that on Twitter. We do not care. That's what we think.
But now I want to get to the Lakers and the point that I stopped on before, the D'Lo point, right? Where I said D'Lo is probably not going to be on the Lakers next season. There's rumors out there, John. I don't know if you've heard them. They've been kind of quiet for the past couple months, but this goes back to a couple months ago when a man by the name of Kyrie Irving was up, right? And he was on the trade block, and the Lakers were obviously linked to that, right? Well, who is a free agent this year? Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving is a free agent this year. Kyrie Irving is not re-signing back in Dallas. I hate to spoil the party for everybody.
He's sure?
Not. Yeah, I'm 100% sure. And you can give me his quote.
Give Kyrie the money he wants.
The Lakers can pay him too.
They can't.
Yeah, they can.
They can't give him the full max.
No, not the full max, but they can give him a good deal. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's going to lose a lot of money, and that's why he left Brooklyn in the first place, because he wanted a full long-term extension that would really give him the maximum amount.
Yes. That is true. But I also think there's a part where he wants to play with LeBron. He's openly spoke about that he wants to right that wrong. That he felt he messed up looking back on it. I just got to be honest. I don't think Kyrie and Luka fit. The money, maybe that's able to lure him over. That's a compelling argument, John. I'm not going to argue money. Money is you throw enough money at somebody, they're going to bite, right? But I just don't think it fits. And I think if the Lakers are, I don't know how much they're going to be able to offer him. I'm pretty sure it's going to be 30 million plus. But I do have a very sneaky feeling that Kyrie Irving is going to be a Los Angeles Laker next year. It's going to be LeBron, AD, and Kyrie. And if that is the lineup, right, with the others, Austin Reeves is not going to be back. Kyrie or not, Austin Reeves is not going to be back because he's most likely getting a contract that the Lakers can't. But
that's the thing. You think Austin Reeves is gone and you'd rather replace him with Kyrie, because now you're committing basically like 95% of your cap to 3 stars.
Yeah.
Well, the rest of your roster, that 5% is going to be minimum contracts only.
100%.
That was the exact problem they ran into with Russell Westbrook just a year ago.
Yeah, and it's the same problem they ran into with Cleveland when LeBron said we're top heavy as you know what. Yeah, 100%. It's the same problem they ran in with in Miami towards the end why LeBron left. But not me, John, personally. I just think that this is the plan. I think that they wanted Kyrie at the trade deadline. They were not willing to give up both first-round picks for him. And now that the plan is kind of not the plan, but an opening has, reopened, to sound redundant. Pelinka's going to look at it. LeBron's going to have his words on it. And I think that they're going to like I said, D'Lo is not coming back. So there's a hole there to fill. And I think they're going to look at it and say, we can go get Kyrie Irving. The last time, and I can already hear the comments about this. Oh, Kyrie's not going to be on the court. His behavior issues, he can get injured, blah, blah, blah. 100%. I mean, I'm not here saying any of that is not the case. I'd be the first one to agree with everybody on that. I'm just saying The last time we saw Kyrie in a successful situation where his behavior really wasn't a problem was with LeBron, under LeBron. And I think there is something to that. So that's all I'm coming out with is I do just believe that Kyrie is going to be a Los Angeles Laker next year, and it's going to be a big three of them three. And if those three are on the court together, and you get some others there, and I hear
You
you.
won't get others there. It won't happen.
No,
It's
no, 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 no.
that's
By
gonna be a
others,
Russell
I
Stevens
no, no.
tester.
I hear. I understand. That's what I was going with right after the by others. I meant I agree with you. It's going to be minimum contracts, freaking vets or some, people like that. Like I hear you and I understand you. I just think that you got those three on the court. Obviously, this is going. Everything goes correctly, right? No
It
injuries
won't
and
go
stuff like that.
correctly right. It's going to go wrong
I know.
badly.
I know. It
And this is a
very.
terrible
It's a
plan.
very. It's like the whatever the hell the knife thing or the sword, whatever the hell the thing is, where it's balancing and it easily can tip over. I 100% agree with you. I'm not making that case. I'm just saying that if they are together, that's a hard 3-0 to beat. So that's
It
all I'm
is an
saying.
easy deal. Okay, so I see where you're coming from. I understand. Would you do that if you're the Lakers?
What's my alternative?
You extend Austin Reeves. You then flip Malik Beasley's $15 million into a more digestible salary.
Mm-hmm.
But now you're able to extend Rui Hachimura and Dennis Schroeder, who have outplayed the current contracts they're on. Dennis at $1 million minimum, and Rui
Yeah.
$5 million, $6 million for a former top 10 pick.
Okay.
To me, if I'm the Lakers this offseason, I can't be thinking about Kyrie Irving because for years he has done nothing in the playoffs. And
Mm-hmm.
once he gets paid, he'll become a distraction and, more importantly, a
Yeah.
detriment to your team. It's
True.
nothing against Kyrie Irving, the player. He's one of the best finishers, ball handlers, and shooters we've ever seen.
Box
But
office.
you need to have three reliable stars tonight if you're going to build a super team.
Yeah.
If you don't have three reliable stars, it's going to go poorly. Think Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, or more recently, the Brooklyn Nets. So
Yeah.
for the Lakers, if you're going to commit to Anthony Davis, who hasn't played 60 games since 2020, LeBron James, who will be 39 years old, and Kyrie Irving, who once he gets paid, just won't be reliable, you're going to set yourself up for failure. But what you learned from the Russell Westbrook era, and this is where I give Rob Pelinka a big stamp of approval, is that you want to get younger players in here because LeBron James is immortal. He's not what he was 6 years ago, let alone 3. In order to win with LeBron James now, you need to have him rest in the regular season, probably play 50 games because he's going to be 40 in a year, going to year 21. You want to stretch and squeeze as much as you can for him in the playoffs to be ready for you. What that means is having Rui, Austin, Dennis, and then a couple of other quality role players. You're going to lose Lonnie Walker, unfortunately. But then with that money you spend or just save by not giving D'Lo that extension, you look to turn that into an adequate starter at the position. Maybe it's Kobe White from the Chicago Bulls,
Yeah.
who this year lost his glamour as the Bulls kind of stunk, but could really be a good option for this Lakers team. I don't think it'd be any good reason, any smart decision, bringing in a third star for a team that's already had troubles in the past, building properly around their two franchise pillars.
I hear you. If that's my alternative, I just have a hard time believing that. Like, you come from the standpoint where you say those three guys and then a bunch of vets and minimum contract guys, that's not going to be enough. And I hear you, and that's a fair point. I understand that. Where I also come from your point of LeBron, AD, AR, Rui, Dennis, maybe a Colby White, like you said, and a couple other guys, right? I don't think that's enough either. And if I think the end goal is to simply because if you're seeing right now what's happening, it's not enough. You talk about the Kyrie, LeBron, AD is not going to work. Well, just take Kyrie out. AD and LeBron hasn't really worked, and you're one of the loudest men on that. Is the bubble is a situation that was kind of special in terms of the months off leading up to the bubble, where AD and LeBron are not going to get that. And if you saw in this conference finals, not taking anything away from the Nuggets, but LeBron was dealing with 2 bum ankles. He's 38 years old. He's going to be 39 next year, like you said. a lot more miles, another full season under his belt. AD, we've seen it year in and year out. Doesn't play, can't play a full season. Even in the playoffs, he looks labored and stuff like that. Even when he's putting on a 40-piece game, he still looks like he's a goddamn old man out there. So when you tell me that, I also don't think that's going to work either. So if that's the case, if I'm the Lakers, God, it really just depends if they're looking, because I believe the end goal for them, right, is they want to win a championship, right?
They're in position though, Brandon.
They are in position. That's what I'm saying. They're
They're
in the conference finals right now.
making it
We
harder
can't
on
say,
yourself.
yeah.
The Lakers are in this position because of Austin Reeves stepping up. He's had
Yes,
3 straight 20-point games in the fourth quarter in the conference finals, and in the fourth quarter has hit clutch shots.
yes.
You can't let him go. Rui Hachimura has been a perfect fit for this team. The reason the Lakers are down 3-0 right now is not because of Rui
No.
or Austin Reeves, and definitely not because of Dennis Schroeder. Because while Jamal Murray yesterday was an inferno, Dennis Schroeder was playing tremendous defense on him off the ball. Jamal was just hitting ridiculous shots.
Oh yeah.
And then you add in Jared Vanderbilt too, who, if he's coming off the bench and playing 20 minutes per game, is a phenomenal role player. The issue is LeBron James is hurt. Adding in another star takes away the quality depth you've built. And what we're seeing right now at the Miami Heat and the Denver Nuggets is star power is not the cure all. A quality supporting cast designed to play with your 2 stars or 1 star is. So for the Lakers, I'm off the boat of bringing another guy. It's really going to be for Photoshops. If you want to win a championship, your best path is what you did this season. Because if you take the other route, you're going to look closer to a year ago where that team had no one to win games when LeBron was off the floor and they missed the playoffs altogether. That will divide a team and it will kill your chemistry. Don't mess with the continuity you've built this year. Go into next year, run it back with whoever your new point guard is, and see how this young team develops.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I just tend to think that the Lakers are a, prestigious franchise, and they are, very much, while they want to win, they are also about selling tickets and being box office showtime. And I just have a very sneaky feeling, John, that Kyrie Irving is going to be a Los Angeles Laker this year. What do you want to say?
In 6 weeks.
Yeah.
What do you think about Nick Wright posed this theory? LeBron James' son is going to USC this year. He'll probably be on draft radars coming out of his freshman year, whether he starts or comes off the bench for the Trojans.
I think he's going to start.
It's LeBron's son. I don't know if he's good enough to, because that team is loaded with recruits, but
okay.
It's a loaded team.
Let's just see, but let's see him perform, and then
The Cavaliers need a small forward. They're going to have the first round pick next year. Could we see them draft Bronny James in the first round to lure LeBron, who they desperately need, back to Cleveland? Is that a possibility here? What do you think about Nick Wright proposing that theory?
Okay, see, my theory, right, is where is Bronny going in the first round for that?
Probably the back end of the first.
Okay, see, that's where I disagree, and maybe this is where we completely disagree on that. I do believe Bronny's going to be at least a lottery pick. I got to be honest with you. I just truly do believe it. But solely based off of name value alone, I think he's going to be a lottery pick. So right there, that kind of cuts Cleveland off. So no, I don't see that.
Okay. I'm a little bit lower on him than you, but he is a pretty good player.
Yeah. Again, I've only seen highlights and stuff, so I'm gonna, when he plays this year in USC, and especially March Madness, I will be paying very keen attention to him. And as the world is as well, right? So like March Madness next year is going to be a ratings draw like no other. So it's going to be a very interesting time, and we're just going to have to see how it plays out. And but that quote is still out there from LeBron. Whoever drafts Bronny, I'm going to play for them. So the Lakers also have to think about that too when they're thinking about their future.
Well said. So talking about futures, the Miami Heat have quickly spurned any thought of what's next this offseason, shocking the entire world by going up 2-0 on the Boston Celtics. You know, what this series really comes down to, Brennan, is the Celtics' intensity does not match that man, Jimmy Butler. And here's the big issue. This is when you know it's all backwards. Grant Williams was the one guy on the Celtics to go out Jimmy. Now, he
Mhm.
had 4 buckets given on him, whether it was tough shots or barreling into his chest and going through him. But Grant Williams he felt like the only player on that Celtics team that was ready to play against him.
Mhm.
Jason Tatum has himself a great 30-point game. Jalen Brown is nowhere to be found. I've heard the hype for him all year. Defensively, Doug Robinson was running him in circles. Al Horford can't make a shot. Robert Williams is getting torched and drop coverage where, hey, look, if your big can make shots, Tom Lord's not the same this year. And then Derek White, a guy who I've praised, is getting killed by Jimmy. He's a jumpy guard that's undersized. It's not a good matchup. Malcolm Brogdon can defend Jimmy rather well, actually, even though he's a worse defender than White. This Celtics team has something missing. And to me, I think it's Ime Udoka. A lot of Celtic fans are going to be they're going to agree at this point. Joe Mazzulla is a rookie coach, and he's 34 years old, and he's not ready for this moment. Eric Spoelstra, when he went to the finals with LeBron, probably wasn't ready then either. He was inexperienced, and he had to learn on the fly. Joe Mazzulla should challenge the Jimmy Butler charge, which I thought would have been overturned, but more importantly, he's pressed the wrong buttons this postseason. Starting Derek White worked well in the regular season, but I felt like he should have started Time Lord and Al Horford earlier in the playoffs. That was the lineup. And when that didn't work, I think you should go away from Al Horford. Because Al Horford in a series like this against Bam Adebayo, if he's not making shots, he can't hang with them. And I
Mhm.
think the Celtics' best lineup would then be 4 guards and Time Lord at the 5, where he's been phenomenal finishing plays, while kind of playing as the pseudo 4 sometimes, given his defensive responsibilities. You put him at the 5, you have an extra guard to guard out in space. But then with Joe Mazzulla, the most important thing to me is that he's not the same type of personality as Ime, who is more on top of this team, kind of lulling them, getting them out of lulls, and bringing them back, waking them up kind of when they're starting to fall asleep. It's an issue we saw at Brad Stevens. But as a Miami Heat fan, what do you think about people only want to talk about the Boston Celtics? Because it feels like it's all the coverage they get. Coming into the series, the Miami Heat were given a 3% chance to win, according to ESPN's very poor analytics. And even after going up 2-0, the Heat are still just being given a 35% chance of moving on to the NBA Finals. Given they're in this position in the NBA bubble and won this series in 6 games, how do you feel? Do you think the Miami Heat are still being overlooked?
100% being overlooked. Listen, the coverage from my Heat has been criminally unfair. Also, just due to the fact of where we've come and what we are doing right now, I think it's being criminally unfair. And I have a feeling in years to come, if the Heat get all the way through, right, and they become this historic team, which they will go down as a historic team if it does happen. I feel like years later, people are going to be talking like, "Oh man, that Miami Heat team was different," even though they weren't talking about them when it was actually happening, right? And it's that revisionist history. It's been unfair. If you watch the mainstream media, ESPN, Fox Sports One, whatever the case may be, Miami Heat are kind of the afterthoughts. They talk about first off, they talk about the Lakers, right? Then they talk about Lakers Nuggets. Then they'll talk about the Celtics. Then, if there's time, they talk about the Miami Heat. And even that, they're doing like 4 Lakers subjects before they even sniff the Miami Heat Boston Celtics series. So it's a thing I've had to deal with for my entire life as being a Heat fan. It's a thing I've had to deal with being a Patriots fan, even though we were the most dominant team possibly in sports history. We didn't get that much coverage. We didn't, and I think it has to do with something along the lines of we don't really talk that much. We don't give that much material out there. We just go out there and we do our jobs. And that is something that you can kind of look at as a comparison between the Heat and the Patriots. They are very head down, focused, tunnel visioned. But enough on that. Now let's get to the series. Celtics fans, where you at? Huh? All right. We just went into Boston, I said we were going to win game 1, right? I called that, but I gave Boston the respect and objectively said Boston's going to take game 2. We did something that shocked me because I didn't expect this. Um, it it didn't look good at certain points, especially late, even into the fourth quarter when we were down about 9 to 11 points, varying.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get to
You're down, by the way, by double digits in two separate parts in the first quarter and the second half.
yeah, and we'll get to the straw that broke the camel's back, if you want to say the play that kind of sprung what happened later. But yeah, Boston made me a liar, and I thank you for that because now Miami Heat are up 2-0. I went into this game, John, with the mindset of prepare for the worst, hope for the best, right? I was preparing for us to take the L, Boston Celtics fans to be very happy, and us to be going back to Miami, and me just to be saying on this show, listen, of course Boston won a game at home. You better win a freaking game at home. Miami, the way I would have saw it if we split was we won because we split at your house. You were supposed to defend home court and you didn't. So, and that didn't happen. We took both games, and now I'm hearing some Celtics fans say, oh, Boston won 3 games in Miami last year. Let me tell you this right now.
We
I
do not
said,
care.
I don't care. You done did let us get greedy by taking 2 games in your house. This series is most likely over. And I say that because of this. If Boston doesn't win both games in Miami, 3 and 4, you're done. You're done. You're not coming back 3-1. You're not. It's not happening.
This
Okay.
isn't Joel Embiid and James Harden you're up against.
No,
Jimmy
this is
Butler
not.
and
This is
Eric
Jimmy
Gordon.
Butler. You just saw it firsthand in game 2. Okay. Both teams are insanely different from the bubble and from last year. We don't have PJ Tucker. We don't have Tyler Hero. We don't have Oladipo. We don't have these guys and that guys. You guys, you have Brogdon now. Ime's not there. Mazzulla's the head coach. So many things are different between. I mean, Marcus Smart for me, John. He was
Overrated?
no, he was great in game 1.
Yeah.
But in game 2, he was a complete and total non-factor.
Was he out there? I didn't even see him.
That's what I'm saying. Like I tweeted that. I was like, there are times where I literally forgot Marcus Smart was even playing in the game. Like in game 1, he was I think he had double digits assists, or he was right
Yeah.
there.
No turnovers.
Yeah. And I was like, and he was making passes, the no-look passes, the pretty passes. So in game 2, you saw none of that. You saw none of that defensive player of the year award that he has on his trophy case. You saw none of that. Maybe he's injured because he did go to the locker room late in game 1. Maybe he's injured, but again, everybody's dealing with injuries. Go look at Jimmy Butler and he's doing his thing. But yeah, I don't know. And you spoke on it, Jaylen Brown. I've been one of the biggest defenders of him. I'm starting to, and I've had these thoughts, John, in my head about Jaylen, and I'm starting to understand Jaylen Brown a little bit more. And I think we're going to get a full answer depending on what he does when his contract is up. And this is what I mean by that. If he re-signs with Boston, we all have, as a NBA community, have to stop asking him to be a Batman because he clearly does not want to be. If he resigns with Boston, because if he does that, that is an indicator and showing us, I don't want to be the man. I like the role as the second man, being the Robin, and Jason Tatum getting all the pressure and all the credit and stuff on him. If he leaves Boston, then we can start having those conversations again about, okay, Jaylen, can you be a number 1 and stuff? But I got to be honest, I don't think he's going to leave Boston now. I'm starting to see a lot of body language where it's like, I'm more of a defer to Jason and I want Jason to take that. So I'm starting to kind of come back on me really ever saying, Jalen, I want you to be more aggressive. I want you to demand more. I want you to be more of a Batman. I'm starting to come back on that and being like, maybe that's just not him. And that's fine. That's not a knock. Some people, Paul George is the perfect Robin, and he's made a very damn good career out of it. There's no knock on it. It's just now we're just coming more to it. For me, more, I'm coming to more of an understanding of Jaylen Brown and what he really is as a NBA basketball player. And that's perfectly fine being a Robin. Now that we know, we can critique him or give him credit accordingly. Now we don't have to, be like, Jalen, why don't you just take the more shots? Like, he doesn't want that. He doesn't want the responsibility. It's on Jason Tatum.
And
now, speaking of Jason Tatum,
to build off your Jaylen
yeah,
Brown point real quick,
yes.
I think we're kind of seeing the reason why he doesn't want to be the man. It's because he's not the man. Jaylen Brown's in the perfect role right now as a secondary scorer, but as a playmaker, his feel lacks far behind. And so far through 2 games, you can see that, dude. Like, I'm not that guy. He's 2 of 13 from 3-point range. There's really just too much variance to the other things he does. And where Jason Tatum can shoot 3 of 13 from the field and impact the game everywhere else, I don't think Jaylen Brown can.
Yeah, no, I hear you there. And on Jason Tatum, I'm not saying the full blame's on him. I know Celtics fans are, they're like, oh, we got to protect Jason Tatum at all costs.
That game
But
wasn't.
there's just no getting around the point that he has not made any field goals in the fourth quarter. There's not getting around the point that he didn't make a field goal in game 2 and had 2 or 3 turnovers in the fourth quarter. You might not want to say he's the main problem, but if you're not the solution, John, then you're part of the problem. And that's all I got to say about Jason Tatum.
I can't say he's been the issue though, Brent.
But no, wait, John. Hear what I'm saying. Really hear what I'm saying. If you're not the solution, then you're part of the problem. I'm not saying he is the main problem. I'm not saying he is the problem. I'm saying you're part of it. This is a team, right? At the end of the day, it is a team. It's less than football and basketball. One guy can take over a game for you. But it is a team sport at the end of the day. So and correct me if I'm mistaken, the game was close against Miami in game 2, right? There were chances for him to take over like he did in, what was it, game 6 when he was having a shit 3 quarters and then came out and was making hella shots.
Yeah.
And he didn't. So like I'm saying, it's not that he is the problem. It's that if you're not the solution as the best player, then you're part of the problem.
Right. He was 0 of 3, all on 3-pointers in game 2 in the fourth quarter. But my thing is that in running the offense, he's getting to the foul line. Like, has he made a field goal through 2 fourth quarters? No. But he also has 11 points because he's perfect at the charity stripe. He's playmaking. And a lot of his shooters, like Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, and Grant Williams actually showed up. He was 3 of 5 in the fourth quarter. He was the only one to make shots. The Heat are going to pressure Tatum and get the ball out of his hands with that zone defense especially. And while Tatum had a couple of bad reads, a couple of poor decisions, which is a little bit more consistent because he's a robotic decision maker, I think altogether what the Boston Celtics need to get back in the series is guys like Jaylen Brown to play as the second or third best player on the floor. If he's the fourth or the fifth, where Caleb Martin is outplaying him, the Celtics won't win. Jason Tatum had 30 points, really good playmaking game. Defensively, I think you have them more off the ball, but at the end of the day, if Caleb Martin outscores Jaylen Brown, you're going to lose.
Yeah, no, that's not a recipe for success at all. Now let's go to the thing that everybody's talking about game 2, right? So we talked about it too after game 1. We were befuzzled by why Peyton Pritchard was getting playing time over Grant Williams. And I said firmly, there's no way Joe Mazzulla didn't see that as a problem, and he's not going to fix it in game 2. And he did. Peyton Pritchard was out. Grant Williams was in. Now, Grant Williams, for what he did, obviously, right, he was actually very effective when he was in the game. He was making the shots. He was making good plays, some good passes. And he is a very good defender. And he will fight you. And like you saw, he'll get in your face. And he is one of those guys. He's a rough rider. And you heard all the NBA analysts, the former players all saying it, the inside the NBA crew saying, we got no problem with Grant Williams doing what he's doing. He's competing out there. He's like you said too, he's the only one that seemed like he was willing to go at it. Like, I'm not going to back down from you. And I respect the hell out of that. But what's crazy is 96-87. That was the score of the game in the fourth quarter. When Grant Williams, how I described it, decided to bathe himself in honey, go out in the woods, and poke the bear. Not just any bear, a freaking grizzly bear. A bear you do not want to poke. A giant you do not want to awaken. No. When he made that three-pointer shot and he was going back up the court and he said, I don't know what he said to Jimmy, but you saw Jimmy's instant reaction was just a little smirk like, okay. And then instantly what he said, give me the ball. Give me the ball. Backed him down, made a shot, tough shot. All of his shots over Grant were tough because, like I said, Grant Williams is a very good defender. But like I said, you awoken something inside of Jimmy. And my mindset going into late into that game was, shit, Jimmy looks a little tired. He looks a little fatigued. He looks like he's trying to find that next gear, like he's trying to dig deep. And what I said to myself was when Grant Williams did that was, after the fact, Jimmy didn't have to dig any deeper because Grant Williams, you brought it out of him. You gave him that next gear. If you didn't do that, there's a chance Jimmy does, still is trying to find that next gear and he can't. But you awoken something inside of a true competitor that is, there is that next. Your body is capable of very crazy things, especially when adrenaline is running. And I guarantee Jimmy's adrenaline shot through the freaking roof when Grant came at him. And then when they went forehead to forehead, it was, yeah, we love that energy. This is NBA playoff basketball. This is what we love in basketball. And I'm so glad the refs didn't throw a tech, didn't throw a flip, whatever. They didn't get freaking involved. You let these two competitors, these two guys go at it and just be like, listen, it's just competitive nature. We just going at it, all right? This is actually what what everybody wished that LeBron did against Dylan Brooks when Dylan started talking. Like, LeBron, go body his ass, all right? Like Jimmy just did to Grant. And that was for me the beginning of the end. I'm not going to say that was the reason we won, because a lot of I think Caleb Martin was, like you spoke, hella great, 26 points. I think it was that this. I want to say something about Caleb Martin. And I tweeted this. He's not just a role player, guys. He's not an all-star or anything like that, but he's not just a role player. He's something more than that. He is somebody who can be a starting caliber player on a championship team. Yes, a critical player who can contribute key in key moments of the game for you.
He's like a bigger Bruce Brown, just the ultimate utility wing.
His ability to finish at the rim too is it's insane. I mean, these jellies that he does, he likes to do all that stuff. His jump shot's a little weird too. It's like a weird like he really like goes hard with the flick if you've ever noticed it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a little funky, but ball goes in. So who really complaining, right? I got to give shout out to my boy Duncan. I love Duncan. America runs on Duncan. Miami runs on Duncan. His ability as a cutter is finally being utilized.
Mm-hmm.
I knew this being a Miami Heat fan, seeing it. It's just the guys with the ball don't really Heat gang. The guys don't really see him as often, and now they're seeing him. And you saw the fruits of the labor when you see a guy like Duncan, who is very good, dare I say great, off the ball and his movement as well. It's not just the three-pointers, and I wish they would use them more than just of the off-the-screen pick-and-roll three-pointer shots. I wish that, do more of the cuts and stuff like that. Fake them out, be like, I'm going three. Nope, cutting to the rim. Because they expect you so much to go to the three-point line because that's all you do with them. So now you got them kind of in the palm. It's like in football, John, when you run it. Guess what? Now you got the defense on their tippy toes. Am I going to play action it? Am I going to run it? You got them now. So yeah, I just got to give a credit to everybody.
Jaylen Brown could not keep up with him. It
which
was a
is,
little
I mean,
cat
did
and
you
mouse.
would you
He was
expected
kicking
that? Would
Jalen's
you have
ass. It was
would
embarrassing. Like,
it
even
was.
Max Strus too. There was one play in the fourth quarter where Gabe Vincent tees up a three. He makes it. Jalen Brown's in his own world, and Max cuts right behind him. The Celtics, they like to defend one-on-one, and because of that, it's been exploited. Guys like Jalen, who are really good defenders, don't have the awareness to keep up with Duncan, who never stops moving. So to your credit, this is one thing you've been very high on, like a Kyle Korver, a JJ Redick. Duncan's reestablishing the fact, hey, look, I am the player they pay me to be. I'm one of the best shooters, one of the best off-ball movers, and one of the
Yes.
most useful shooters in the league because of the way he could weaponize me in pick and roll and DHOs. And for Derek Spoelstra, man, it's one thing to have Jimmy Butler just annihilating the competition on any switch. It's another to have Duncan and Bam weaving through traffic and actions, making kind of like the Denver Nuggets with their off-ball movements a second element of offense that makes it a little bit more confusing for defenses because now you've got three different developments on both sides of the floor. It can be rather hectic, and it's pretty good basketball.
Yeah, and like I said about Duncan too, using him more than just the off the pick and roll, kind of handoff 3-point shots. You saw when he made that first layup, uh, he uh, he made his very next 3-point shot, and it has to do something with shooters. John knows this. When you see the ball go in, when you get an easy one, the next shot you take, you're much more confident in taking it. So it's I understand, you come out the gate, you want to just shoot the 3-pointer shot, but it usually is the best strategy is to just get that 3-point guy. And Clay talked about this too, just getting an easy look early just to see the ball go in. It's kind of like in football with the receiver. You want to keep that receiver involved and keep his head in the game even late in the game. The way to do that is to feed him early and often. Get the ball, just let the ball touch his hands. It's similar to a shooter as well. They just need to see the ball go in. So whether that be an easy layup, a backdoor cut, whatever, getting to the free throw line, just seeing the ball go in will make them so much more confident from that 3-point line.
Mm-hmm.
I would love more catch and shoot opportunities for Duncan. I know that those are hard to come by because it's going to be very difficult to draw Duncan's man off of them because they're so like alert and being like, I can't leave Duncan. But
Right.
I do feel like there's a way to design up a play. I'm not smart enough to do it, but Spo definitely is. A play to get that man, not maybe off Duncan, but have him rotate. So now Duncan is open. And I think Duncan on a catch and shoots can be, I don't want to say more effective than the handoffs, but I just feel like those are easier looks than the handoffs jack up threes. Those are very tough shots to make, if I'm being honest. Even if you're an elite shooter, those are tougher shots to make. But yeah, I can't say enough about my Miami Heat. I do want to speak on this, John. Justin even said this too, and I've gotten this in my personal life, I guess you want to say, from my brother and my coworkers and stuff about I need to address something. Me not believing in my Miami Heat earlier. I take that full on because I didn't. I didn't see a pathway. I saw I wasn't confident in what we were producing on the court. Listen, I was insanely confident going into that Atlanta series. You go back and check the tape. I was literally sitting here laughing at the fact of anybody saying Atlanta could beat us.
In the plan,
The plan, yeah, sorry, the plan.
which just lost.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. If you go back, you remember our conversation around that, John. You couldn't get me to think Miami was going to lose that game because of how we've dominated the Atlanta Hawks and especially Trae Young. We lost that game and it was like a arrow through the effing heart to me. You saw my demeanor on the next show. You can go look it. I said, I don't give a crap what happens against Chicago. I'm done. I'm done. I don't care. We won against Chicago. I said, all right, we're going to go up against Milwaukee. We're probably going to lose in 5 and, whatever. The chips may fall, the chips may fall. We'll get a better draft pick, and we'll play for next year, which is perfectly fine. I have no qualms with that. Can't win them all every year. But for people to say, oh, you didn't believe in your team, you didn't believe in your team, now you're believing. Yeah, because I needed to see it. I did. I truly do. And I think the best reasoning I can give to you for that is Just look at the NBA world. Look at the stats behind the Miami Heat. They still don't believe. The whole community as a whole doesn't still believe. Okay, I started to buy in. I said that the Miami Heat are going to the NBA Finals when the Celtics lost game 5 against the 76ers. That is when I cashed in and said, my Miami Heat are going to the NBA Finals because the Sixers are something we can no fear. No fear in a 7-game series against the 76ers. And the Celtics, who I did fear, should have never lost game 5. I spoke on this. They showed vulnerabilities, and that's why I'm so confident against them. And you're seeing the fruits of that labor right now, 2-0 going into Miami. All right, and if you don't win the next 2 games, this series is over, Boston. Book that. So, and you still see people not buying in, believing. You read the stat of 35% chance to go into the NBA Finals. We're up 2-0, and we won both games in Boston. So for people to say you didn't buy in, of course I didn't. We were going up against the number 1 seed in the Bucks. We were. Nobody could have foresaw Giannis going down. Nobody foresaw that.
Well,
so I want to ask you this question, John. This is where I was getting to. Is saying something could happen, is that calling it in your opinion? Like if I say
no.
Right? Like if I say before the Bucks and Miami Heat series, Giannis could go down and the Miami Heat, could win. If that happens after the fact and I come back and I say, John, I called that. What are you going to say to me? You're gonna be like, I don't take you seriously. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, right. So that's all I want to get to that because
a possibility is not a proclamation.
It's not a no. Thank you. And that's what I was trying to get across is because my brother said that. He said, oh, I said Giannis could go down and they could have a chance. And I'm like, and then after the fact, he said, and his people around him too were saying, yeah, your brother called it. And I'm like, over here befuzzled, like, do you guys not understand the difference between calling something and saying could? Like I literally said, I could say, I'm going to go meet Kim Kardashian tomorrow and we're going to go on a date and start dating. And if that does happen, which won't happen, am I going to say after the fact I called that? No, because saying something could happen is not calling something.
Well, it's not only that. Screw the injuries. The Heat this year are 6-2 in the playoffs when they're down by 10 points. The rest of the NBA is 15-60. Shout out to Nate Duncan, who gave that stat on his podcast. And when they're down by double digits in this postseason, in the fourth quarter, the Miami Heat are 3-2. We saw it versus Celtics, and in games 5 and 4 versus the Milwaukee Bucks in the first rounds. This Miami Heat team will break you. And as a Denver Nugget fan, I'm excited, but at the same time, a little bit on edge, knowing, well, you've got the best player in the East, the best coach, the best shooting, the best defender, and maybe the best bench too. That to me is what I call a complete team. You may not have 2 stars, you've only got 1 all-star. You may be missing your most dynamic scorer, but you check off every single box. Versatility, scheme versatility. 3-point shooting, star that can exploit mismatches and create for himself from all 3 levels one-on-one. Head coach, one of the most tactical and wise we've seen. And then you get to play with Caleb Martin. Kyle Lowry had a donut. He won't do that again. This Miami Heat team has come together at the perfect time. And the reality is, 1 month ago, they were not a championship team. They were struggling. Offensively, they're making shots, but defensively, they're out of sync. But in the week since, they have completely flipped their season. They're 1 game away from missing the playoffs and having something more than 19th overall pick. No, Brent, they would have been selecting in the lottery. But because they got the 8th seed, they now have, I think it's the 19th pick. The Warriors have the 19th pick. The Miami Heat had the 16th overall pick. And so they're still going to have a pretty good pick this year in the first round, but that shit don't matter because they're trying to go and they're going to go to the NBA Finals. This is something we have not seen in the 22nd century. And as an NBA fan, I don't care about the discourse. I could give a rat's ass about Giannis' injury. Who cares? Why is the storyline have to be about that? This Miami Heat team with Giannis on the floor beat them 3 games to nothing. With Jimmy Butler getting hurt, they beat the Knicks in 6 games. And now against Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they're thoroughly outplaying them while being heavy underdogs which in the first place was wrong because they are a better team than Boston. It's cut and simple.
Yeah. So I just want to read off a couple of things. So the only two players in NBA history that have recorded these averages in a single postseason, John, 30 plus points, 5 plus rebounds, 5 plus assists, 2 plus steals, and 50% plus from the field goal percentage. The only two players to do that are Michael Jordan and one Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler tweeted or posted on Instagram an IG caption after the Boston game 2. He simply just said 6. Now I just am gonna say this one thing, and because I've been saying it the last week or so. I know that it is hard to believe because you haven't seen it, right? And it's hard to believe in something that we haven't seen. But what the Miami Heat are doing right now is something in the word of, I like to say, destiny, right? And it's hard to call it that right before it happens because people will just scoff at it and be like, what are you talking about? Because of exactly what I said before that. It's hard to believe in something that you haven't seen yet. Best believe when it does happen, that's what everybody will be calling it. You go back and look, and this one hurts my heart to the umpteenth degree. The '07 New York Giants. That was destiny. Okay, that was a Cinderella story. You didn't believe it until you saw it, and still some people, even me as a Patriots fan, don't want to believe it because I don't want it to be true. This is what's happening, folks. Prepare for it. We're coming. Uh, I'm not gonna say this is over yet because, like I said, Boston has to win both games for this to be a series still. So I'm still gonna wait. Not get ahead of myself yet. But it's looking real good. I don't have my sunglasses on right now, but best believe my future is still too bright. Game 3 tonight in Miami. Let's go. You win this game, it's done. Headshot.
Could you imagine if the Miami Heat fired Eric Spoelstra? If they decided to rebuild in the summer of 2019? Since they signed Jimmy Butler in a sign trade that saw Josh Richardson go to Philadelphia, they have been to the Eastern Conference Finals in 3 of 4 years. They have won not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, 6, 7, but what is now on the verge of 8 playoff series. That is 4 times as much as Kevin Durant won with the Brooklyn Nets teaming alongside Kyrie Irving. He won 2 series in 2021, and that was it. Wait a second. He won 1 series in 2021. So think of it that way. The Brooklyn Nets get 2 stars to win 1 playoff series. They get bounced in 2 of the 3 years. The Miami Heat, meanwhile, have won 8 times as many series. Then flip it over to Los Angeles. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George have won a grand total of 4 playoff series together. Is that even correct? 2020 bubble, they win 1. 2021, they win 2. 2022 last year, they missed the playoffs. So no, that Clipper team won 3 total playoff series. The Nets won 1. The Miami Heat are on the verge of winning double as many as those 2 teams combined. What that tells us is teams in sports give up way too often. The Chicago Bulls didn't think Jimmy Butler was good enough to give a Supermax contract, and so they traded him and decided to rebuild. And since then, they have not won more than 1 playoff game.
I do want to say that, though, this about Jimmy. There is something to be said about perfect fits Jimmy Butler was born to be a Miami Heat player.
A Heatsman.
A Heatsman, if you will, a Heatle. I think the
A
Bulls.
member of the Heat.
Yes, I think
A Heat
the
member.
okay. I think the Bulls at that point in time were kind of a match made in heaven as well for Jimmy Butler, the player he was, simply because of the tough-minded group that was the Chicago Bulls at that time. You had Joakim Noah, Taj Gibson, who else was on that team? Derrick Rose, obviously.
Powell.
Powell.
Rajon.
Yep. But yeah, that team
Cristiano
was just
Felicio.
and then coached by Tom Thibodeau. That was kind of perfectly built for Jimmy Butler and what he was. Now that he is this, we see Minnesota was not built for him. It did not fit. You can have your reasons. You can have your whatever, think whatever you want about Cat, the team, and blah blah blah. But it just didn't work. They didn't fit with Jimmy. You go to Philadelphia, maybe Joel Embiid fit with Jimmy, but the other guys didn't. Ben Simmons probably the most. They chose Tobias over Jimmy.
And Al Horford.
And
Ben Simmons.
Yeah, don't even. Al Horford should have never left Boston. But now he's on the Miami Heat, and we are seeing that it has been a match made in heaven. The way Jimmy plays, the way Jimmy leads is very particular. You have to have the right people to actually hear what he's saying, and not just only hear, because there's a difference between hearing and listening. You got to have the right people to listen to him. Minnesota and Philly didn't have that. Miami does, because we are those players. You talk about the undrafted players. You talk about the players who were overlooked all the way through. The reason Kyle Lowry wanted to come to Miami was Jimmy Butler. It's a match made in heaven is the best way you can describe it. I don't think I got to be honest with you. I don't know if Jimmy is playing this well anywhere else because of Spo, the Heat culture, and the people surrounding him, because they're buying into what he's saying. They're buying in. And I don't know if every team sorry, scratch that. I know almost every team wouldn't buy into what Jimmy is saying, because not all the players on those teams are built like my Miami Heat are built. That is the difference. It's not a knock on Jimmy. It's a knock on the people surrounding him, not buying into what he is, because there's one thing you can never critique Jim. You can critique him for maybe being, too hard, moody, this, that, whatever. I don't really give a fuck about that shit anyway. One thing you can never take away from Jimmy is his will, his passion, his want to. He will never ask you to do something that he is not willing to do himself. That is what a true leader is.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to that.
Timothy!
What do you think is the outcome of tonight's game?
I would be lying to you if I didn't think Boston's going to take game 3. Because they are that good of a team. They're in the Eastern Conference Finals for a reason. So it would be, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Miami's undefeated at home this year as well during the playoffs. If I'm not mistaken.
Close to it.
Yeah.
Because the Knicks got one on their home floor last series.
Did they? No. No, the Knicks won game 2 in New York and then won game 5 in New York. Miami won 3.
Right, I thought they took game 4. Okay,
No. They won game 5. Yeah, I'm almost positive because we lost that one game against the Bucks in game 2, which was in Milwaukee. Yeah, we're undefeated at home this year during the playoffs.
In fact,
unless you count the play-in against Atlanta where we lost at home. But the stats don't count, so you can't really count it. But like I said, it would be hard for me to say I don't think Boston's going to. I don't expect us to sweep Boston. I don't think anybody should expect that. They are a good team. They're here for a reason. So I'm not going to count them out. I'm not going to disrespect them. I'll lean Boston takes game 3. Like I said, going into game 2, John, I will prepare for the worst and I will hope for the best.
You were right. They won games 2 and 5, or the Knicks did on their home floor. So the Miami Heat have yet to lose in the actual playoffs at home thus far. And I think that's always overblown. I mean, yes, you're going to win a lot more games at home in the playoffs, just like how most teams do. But I agree with you.
I
But
think for Miami, it's a little different simply because we know how the Miami Heat crowd is, tends to take a little bit of time before they get in the goddamn arena.
mm,
So it's a little different than maybe Denver, which is full from tip off and because they're mile high city altitude. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're
so, what else have we not discussed that we can, if I'm forgetting something?
saying. NBA wise, I don't think there's really much going on. I mean, we talked to Wemby. Um,
Oh,
oh,
this is kind of
oh,
crazy.
okay.
Michael Malone last night dropped this bomb. Jamal Murray thought he was being traded when he tore his ACL. Just 2 years ago, in April of 2021, he said in the car with Michael as they're going to the airport after tearing it in Golden State, I'm damaged goods. Are you guys going to trade me? And Michael Malone says, no, you're a vital cog to this team. We're not going to trade you. And while Jamal was probably very emotional at the time, looking back now, he's the reason they're going to the NBA Finals. With Nikola Jokic, this wouldn't be possible by himself. They were a second round exit in 2021, and then a first round exit last year without Jamal. But in the 3 series he's played, they've been in the conference finals, a game away from the conference finals the year before, and now they're 1 game away from the NBA Finals. He's the perfect number 2 because he gives you everything Jokic may not bring. Jokic adds the pick and pop element, but he's not a self-creator because he's 7 feet tall. 1-on-1, but Jamal is a separator in space. And he's going to take Anthony Davis. He's going to cook him. He's going to do a good job on switches. And when his shots aren't falling, he's going to have the short-term memory loss to continue coming back and responding again and again. Off misses, off makes. It doesn't matter what you do. This Nuggets offense does not stop humming. And that's why I think it's really meaningful to watch and listen to a Michael Malone press conference. He's been saying some crazy stuff in it, but it's because he's done a fantastic job motivating his team. Michael Malone would have been fired and they make it to the conference finals. They had to get to the next level. And this year, he has done a fabulous job with his back against the wall. As they say, pressure creates diamonds. And this Denver Nugget team has more than shown us it's going to be a dogfight versus the Miami Heat, but they're ready to win an NBA championship this season.
No, it's going to be, listen, we hear the talk, the scuttlebutt, if you will, of the NBA kind of is quietly rooting for Boston and LA in the finals. And being a Heat fan, I totally understand it. I'm not, I get it. You want the two high market teams, especially that rivalry that dates back to the almost beginning of the NBA. Why wouldn't you want the NBA Finals a
I think
matchup?
it'd be a worse matchup than Nuggets Heat. That's why
Yeah,
it would be a worse finals matchup. Like Heat Nuggets is much better. Two better teams, better matchup, better ingredients, better pieces.
yeah. In terms of all that, like yes, it is. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Listen, I'm pumped up for Game 3. I can't wait. It would be awesome to get a little bit more of a rest for Miami, but it's probably not going to look like it. It looks like Denver's probably going to get more of the rest than Miami is. But crazier things have happened. One thing about the NBA playoffs that I've always kind of despised, especially about where the finals is, I don't understand why they don't give them, like, how the NFL gives the teams a week, or is it's 2 weeks actually, before they play the Super Bowl. I wish the NBA would give the conference finals champions at least 1 week of rest to build up, because especially even this year too, you know how much that week would mean for the Miami Heat? That's possibly a Tyler Hero comeback. Now, this is something that nobody's been talking about, is Tyler Hero, and how, I don't want to say this, but the Miami Heat have played a lot better without Tyler Hero. I muted, John.
Not that they're a better team without him, though.
No. They played better, obviously, without him. And when he comes back, it's going to be interesting. Is he going to be a liability just simply because of the fact of he's coming off a broken right hand? That's a shooting hand. Is he going to lose a lot of dribbles when he's, handling the ball? Is his shot going to be off? We don't know. So, but like Spoelstra said, I think even a week ago, oh, Tyler can play if he wants to. He just can't dribble or shoot. So there's no reason to have him out on the court. So that's an interesting storyline to look at that has kind of been overlooked about. Yes, people have been saying, okay, Tyler can come back around maybe the NBA finals, but if he does, what is he going to be? And is he going to be a liability? That is yet to be seen.
That's actually really funny. I'm seeing Laker fans still propping up the idea Kyrie Irving's the answer on Twitter, and people are responding to it, which is ridiculous. And I like to end off the show by giving Michael Porter Jr. a shout out because,
Hello?
he's been labeled as this bad defender, which he was, but for the first time, he's defending, he's rebounding, he's playing in transition, he's playmaking. He had 6 assists yesterday. This entire Nugget team's giving me 2014 Spurs vibes because they're unselfish. Aaron Gordon may be benched, but he's still racking up 4 assists, clutch ones. This team plays so well together. And shout out to Really Doe. I got clowned hard when I said Jokic had no Murray nor MPJ. That's why he lost early in the playoffs the last couple of years. People call me stupid. And yesterday, the rest made it look obvious against the Nuggets. Yeah, man. I mean, Scott Foster got bopped in the mouth, and he was still trying to give his boy LeBron a little extra. I mean, if it weren't for the
His name
Nuggets
is
in the
Really
game
Doe?
getting those charity stripe line attempts, then the Lakers would have doubled them in 3-throw attempts. And to be honest, though, refs are going to miss a lot of calls. Like Aaron Gordon had a missed travel on an offensive rebound that became a 3-pointer. And there's going to be a lot of different missed calls. I feel like the Lakers, up until the tail end of the fourth quarter, where they're really getting a little more whistle, by the rest, were doing just fine. They weren't getting ridiculous calls. A lot of it was light contact that could have gone either way, but there was contact there. And so it would be called a foul. I felt like it was not totally the refs trying to give them the game, but quite clearly the NBA wants this to go to 7 games, which it quite clearly will not be. So
No. Yeah,
with all that being said,
yeah,
that'll wrap up everything for episode number 104, the Wise Guys podcast. I was John Tortorelli with Brandon Capozziello. This was episode 104, which I just said. And as always, till next time. But while you're at it, be sure to drop a like in the stream and subscribe to us. We're trying to get the 600 followers by the end of this week on YouTube. And at the same time, if you'd like to check out some of our exclusive content, we can do Q&A access. We're just trying to get some people on the Patreon. You can join our Discord server, get access to my NBA articles, get video shoutouts, and all the while, you'll be able to request future video topics, all for as little as $1 a month. So if you're interested, feel free to check it out. Link is in the description. But if not, best way to support us is by sharing the show. And with all that being said, as always, until next time, peace.
Stay classy.